code. Last year, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, we were graced by Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, the game that our very own Zach Quest said was going to take on the platform fighting game genre and steal the crown from Smash Brothers because it's done by actual fans. It's doing stuff that Nintendo would do.
October of 2021.
October of 2021. And boy, oh boy, was he right. Because that's all that people have talked about over the last... No, just kidding. The original game was fine.
Semi-right.
It was fine. It lasted as long as Multiverses lasted. So Multiverses probably lasted even less. And we thought it was dead. We thought, cool, they put out just this fun thing. Nickelodeon wasn't going to support it, whatever. But there was a glimmer of hope there. Somebody at Nickelodeon said, I bet we could still squeeze some money off of this if we did things the right way with it. Like if we actually supported it and made people want to go back. The original Nick All-Star Brawl was pretty devoid of content. It was literally just the fighting game aspect of it. There wasn't a campaign. There wasn't a lot of like fun unlocks. There wasn't anything to do by yourself except go through the arcade mode over and over again. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl was announced earlier this year and released, and we got a code for it. And I can tell you wholeheartedly that this game fixed everything that was an issue for me from the first game. And at the same time, it all was blinking in my house. Here, something's blinking. At the same time, it thunder outside. That's a good sign. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has fixed everything from the first game and done a whole bunch of good stuff in this new game, in the sequel, and I'm about to talk about it. First and foremost, way improved visuals. I'm playing it on PS5. Zach's playing it on Steam. I gave JJ a Switch code.
Because we hate him.
Because we hate him. There are issues there because I guess the Switch version is not running very well from what he was saying. This runs magnificently on PS5. The visuals are great. Like I'm going to pause this a little bit to show you some of the stuff. Everything is rendered really well, right? So you start off the game. There are several modes. I'll kind of dive into the campaign mode and the kind of just general battle. General battle-wise, like I said, visuals are great. What I love about it is that the animations for the characters actually fit the moves now, in that, you start off playing the game really with, like, SpongeBob to learn a lot of stuff. SpongeBob is sort of the Mario of the game, of the series. His move now is he does the stupid rainbow, right? The very famous SpongeBob rainbow. But the animation lines up with the attack this time. Like in the past, you would actually have just like punches and kicks. In this case, they're actually taking animations from the IP that they're from and turning it into actual movesets, which I think is fantastic. They've sort of homogenized the art style, so it still looks like characters, still looks like the IP that they're from, but now they've sort of made the art style work together a little bit better, which I think is also really cool. The other really interesting aspect of it is the way that they've kind of really fine-tuned the classes in this game. In the first game, you had like 10 characters from, let's say, from Rugrats. And the majority of them played the same. I mean, it's like the Smash Brothers issue where there's like 15 sword fighters from Fire Emblem, and they all play exactly the same. Instead of having like Tommy from Rugrats and SpongeBob fight, and they might have real similar attacks, they actually chose Reptar as the character from Rugrats to take on, let's say SpongeBob or Powder Toast Man or whatever. And the reason being is that Reptar now is actually play significantly differently than SpongeBob, than Donatello, than April O'Neil, than Jimmy Neutron. They all really have an individual fighting style. And that's something that was missing from that first game. Again, the first game was fine, but you could play as any of the characters and not really get much out of it, differentiation-wise. In this game, they really are unique in their play styles. So that said, Great level design. The one aspect of this, I don't know if they show it here or not, is the new slime mechanic. The slime mechanic is fantastic. So you get this little meter. If it shows up here, I'll pause it. This little meter starts building up on the screen that has like a little slime meter. And what happens with the slime meter? Oh, they don't show it. Oh, well. What happens with the slime meter is that you can use it to break combos. You can like hold one of the trigger buttons. It'll break combos. It'll let you jump back onto a platform if you're too far down. It will let you unleash more powerful moves or block moves or do reverses or do, faster movements, that kind of stuff, depending on which trigger, what point of that slime meter is happening. The HP of the person you're fighting against. And if you're just somebody who is a little bit more basic in some of the way you play these games, you can just use it almost like a Smash Brothers move where it kind of uses if the slime meter is filled up, you use you tap right with the right stick and it'll unleash a superpower, like cartoonish animation finishing move type of thing, which is actually really fun to watch. So that addition, I think, is great. The ability to sort of build up and drain this slime meter to do certain fighting moves and breaks and holds these modifiers to the game, I think, is awesome. So that's a fighting mechanic. It works great. But what I loved was the campaign mode, which is this very basic roguelite style setup. And you can sort of see right there. You can kind of see there. It's set up in an array of stages that you go through each one. Some of the stages are one-on-one battles. Some of them are like you're popping balloons. Some are platforming challenges. It reminds me a lot of the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate overworld map thing where you're kind of facing off against folks, but they are also randomized, and it's because it's a roguelite. You get to a certain point, if you lose all your health and you die, like there's one of the platforming challenges, lose all your health and die. Clockwork is one of the characters that you're kind of working with in this sort of story mode. We'll rewind time and pull you back to the beginning of the run. Obviously, it gets frustrating because, hey, I didn't get a chance to. Here's Ren and Stimpy, by the way. I didn't get a chance to finish the game and fight one of the bosses or whatever. And you kind of get reset back like any roguelite, but you do keep, you keep certain gold, you keep certain unlocked characters and that kind of stuff. And you can, again, by facing off the characters one-on-one in these little mini missions on this world map, you can unlock them for later runs. And then there's like this hub world built into it. It's really cool. I enjoyed this roguelite aspect because it did have me coming back, had me playing the game to unlock characters. It had me checking out different move sets. It's not perfect as a roguelite, obviously, because it is still meant to be a fighting game, but I think it's a novel enough idea that it warrants multiple playthroughs to just check out some of the zany things like this Ren and Stimpy part. Check out some of the zany things that they're doing within the game. So Nick All-Star Brawl 2, a lot of fun. They did a great job with the game. I'm really surprised how much they pulled off.
The only thing is this, do you think, an example of a game that just wasn't quite ready the first time around? And
yes,
was it at a beta that was number 1 and then a full release that was number 2?
I think so. And I think the first one was so the story goes is that the first Nick All-Star Brawl game was essentially penned by a bunch of Smash Brothers fanatics that wanted to make their own take on it. And these are a lot of well-known folks in the community, wanted to make their own take on it, but they couldn't necessarily do Smash Brothers. So they did another IP. They pitched it to Nickelodeon and got their footing set up. And they did some of the very technical aspects. They got I think it was more focusing on the technical side of things. But one aspect they missed was that was the beta. That was the early access period. It's like, yeah, we got the technical side down really well, but what's the hook? And I think this version actually gets the hook put together. Like they figured, we've got to do this because it's almost like they held that first game as early access because they got a lot of feedback from fans who fell off playing. Like there was nothing to keep people coming back.
Yeah, and I guess that's what's weird to me is that you described the first one into the second one. It's like why not release it as an like in the era?
Nickelodeon, dude.
Yeah, I
Nickelodeon would
know.
do it. That's what exactly what it is.
Which
But I
which
think
which
they didn't know. I feel like they didn't know that the first game was going to be early access. I thought it kind of feels like that first game was let's get a game out that we think is technically sound, which it is. But then again, some of the things they're missing is what they didn't realize that they needed some really cool, unique hook to this.
yeah.
And I think that's what this game, the second game, does. And yeah, they did a great job. I'm really enjoying all the outfits that the characters can put on. The writing is actually really funny. Like you'll in the campaign mode, you'll have SpongeBob talking to like Clockwork or talking to Ren and Stimpy, and they'll say really funny things to each other. So there's some great writing of the game. Patrick thinks that people are invading his brain. So that's always great. But no, yeah, they learned a lot from the first game, and they learned that you got to make these characters unique. And by golly, this is a year that people are talking about Street Fighter 6 and they're talking about Mortal Kombat 1. This may not have the cachet of those series. This is a damn fine sequel. Like this should be considered it's one of the top 3 fighting games of the year. There is a season pass as well. I think there's 25 characters that this game starts with that you can open up initially, and I think there's probably gonna be a lot more later on. But God, do it. I mean, they did it. They pulled this sucker off, and good for them. So yeah, man, solid. I'm gonna be playing this fighting game with my nephews and my daughter way more than I would have played like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or whatever. Not just their age,
it's more approachable.
I think from a fighting mechanic, it's more approachable. From a familiarity with the characters, like the characters actually feel like the characters this time, like I said earlier. So no, they did a good job. That slime factor is great because I use it differently than the younger folk in my home do when I'm playing with them because like I will use this slime mechanic to prevent combos from taking place, for instance. Meanwhile, my nephews will do it as a super move because they thought the super move looks really cool. And that's great. There's no rubber banding in this game, which is good. So it's not like you're like a lot of times in Smash or other games, you'll be so far behind, and all of a sudden like this big giant item will drop that will affect the game in your favor. There's none of that in this. You still have to have some good skill. Like I was crushing people that are a 10th my age, but you can't do that with like Mario Kart or other type of these mascot games. No, it's good. Really enjoying it. I'll be playing it. I played the last one for all of like a week and a half at most because I got it on sale for like $9. I'm gonna be playing this one. I could see myself playing this one into spring, just depending on which characters are showing up. So yeah, good on them. Good stuff. Nick All-Star Brawl 2.